Zach Green, Mr. Harrell. I'm in English Composition 111, and I'm going to be reading the final draft of my personal narrative. Unfamiliar faces. Everyone has been the new guy at some point in their life. Whether it be a new school, new job, or anything else, we all know the feeling of strangers looking at you, judging you, and forming an immediate opinion of you, even though you may not have even spoken with them yet. The first day of being this unfamiliar person when no one knows you is always the most stressful, because how you act on the first day is how people will shape their opinion of you. If you are quiet, people could think you are antisocial. If you are talkative, people could think you are loud and annoying. As I stand in this unfamiliar room, I know all this, and it is the only thing running through my manic mind. I am an only child, so I'm used to being alone, but something does not feel right when you're alone in a room full of people. Actually, room is an understatement. The commons area at Stowe is so huge it can fit double our whole school, about 3,000 people. As I scan this crowd of unfamiliar faces, I feel lonelier than I ever have in my entire life. I went to a small private school called Holy Family for 9 years of my life, kindergarten through 8th grade. During my first year, there were about 60 of us in my graduating class, which was the biggest class in the school. We lost and gained people every year, resulting in a final graduating number in 8th grade of about 50 people. As the years went by, spending 9 hours per day with one another made us all grow closer, and by the time we graduated, we all agreed that we were pretty much family. We all grew up together and knew one another extremely well. However, high school was on the way. We were all really excited to get out of Holy Family and move on, but we knew that we would all be separating. Choosing what high school to attend was a big part of 8th grade. For many, cost was not a factor because their parents had well-paying jobs, so these people just got a group of friends together and all went to the same school. For others, however, a 4-year $10,000 tuition followed by college tuition was too much. Unfortunately, I was one of these people, so I began attending a large public school known as Stowe Monroe Falls High School. All my friends ended up going to private high schools, and the few people that went to Stowe with me were the only 4 or 5 kids in my class that I had never even spoken to. Very soon, I would be all alone. I walk into my new school and the first impressions begin. This place is huge. I'm never going to be able to find any of my classes, I say to myself. I was told to go to the Commons when I first arrived today at freshman orientation, but I have absolutely no idea where that is. I decide to follow a distant echoing of voices down a long hall. I finally find the Commons, and more first impressions come. I look around the massive Commons area, and all I see are hundreds of unfamiliar faces staring back at me. I can feel people thinking, "Who is this kid?" when looking at me. I'm an outsider, and I know it just as well as them. The thought of no one knowing anything about me but still forming an opinion about me scared me. I feel extremely alone. I scan the room for someone to talk to, but everyone is hanging out with their middle school cliques. Suddenly I am jolted from my thoughts when an older girl standing on a table yells to me, "Over here!" I curiously shuffle over to a group of about 20 other kids, all staring at me. I realize that we are touring the school in small groups with upperclassmen mentors. I look around and finally feel a sense of relief because it seems no one really knows each other in my group. However, knowing the importance of first impressions, I still feel way too nervous to actually try to talk to anyone, so I just keep quiet and take in all the aspects of my new school. I was amazed at the infinite number of lockers lined up on either side of the halls. I scratched my head at some rather odd illustrations painted on the walls. All these paintings are old and pretty weird. Some of them actually straight up creep me out, says our group leader. A few people smile and give a half-hearted laugh, and we keep moving forward. As we walk, I make a point to remember specific parts of the school to help me get to my classes without getting lost. After a rather brief tour, we head down to the auditorium to watch a presentation. Most of it is pretty basic stuff. Get to class on time, have fun, be respectful, all the usual things. There's a short presentation for some of the clubs, such as band and drama club, with a few senior members awkwardly giving presentations about why we should join. Afterwards, we do a few forgettable icebreaker activities, then we head off to lunch. I'm starving at this point, so I feel like I should be excited for lunch, but absolutely no part of me wants to go to lunch in the slightest bit. For the majority of the preceding summer, one of my biggest fears was not having friends to sit with at lunch. It is now time for lunch, and I have not made any friends to sit with. I look around the commons and see several people sitting alone, and I try to figure out where I should go. Suddenly, I happen to see an old friend from Holy Family who I had left in 6th grade named John, and decide now would be a perfect time to try to catch up. John and I were not best friends back in elementary school, but we got along well and even played baseball together, so I figured he would remember me. I shyly walk over and say, "Hey man, is it cool if I sit here?" and then sit down immediately. I awkwardly try to bring up some old memories from Holy Family, and we make some small talk when suddenly, about 5 of his friends who I had never seen before come up and sit with us. They make some friendly small talk with me, but I was still way too nervous to have a genuine conversation. Coming from a school where everyone knew each other so well did not prepare me for this change at all, is the main thought running through my head. Again, I feel very alone. Lunch eventually ends, and I thank John for letting me sit with him. The next class is band, and this is where everything finally starts changing for me. I was in band at Holy Family, but Stowe's band ends up being way different than what I anticipated. At Holy Family, our band met twice a week before school and had 2 concerts in the entire year. I played snare drum and I enjoyed it, but I really just did it so my parents would buy me a drum set. I decided playing in band in high school could be fun, so I joined. As I walk into band on the first day, I see everyone sitting in a room talking with their friends. I do not know anyone in the room, nor do I even know what instrument I was going to be put on. I sit down in a chair in a row by myself and wait to see what is going on. I wait for about 10 minutes, and after nothing happens, I figure we are not doing anything and just use the period as a study hall. I sit there and text my friends and play games on my phone. I feel discouraged and alone yet again. The day is almost over and I have not made any new friends or even spoke to anyone outside of lunch. Just when I have lost all hope, I notice there are 4 kids sitting behind me talking about video games, so I decide to listen in on their conversation. I overhear them talk about Call of Duty, one of my favorite games. I finally decided it's time to break out of my shell, so I turn around and say, "I love that game. Do you guys play on Xbox or PlayStation?" We ended up talking for the rest of the period after this. One of the boys in the group behind me was named Austin, and he was really eager to fill me in about band camp and even just talk about anything. "Why didn't you go to band camp or any of the practices?" Austin asked me. I had no idea band camp even happened or that everyone else already knew our entire show. I simply replied, "I had no idea you guys even started already. I thought today was our first day." I had no idea how to feel about this, and to this day still do not know how I feel about it. I remember a sense of being frustrated and discouraged. Everything would have been so much different if I would have gone, but I do not know if it would be different in a good way or in a bad way. Austin plays Xbox just like me, and we both share a love for the same types of games. Austin plays trumpet as well as another kid in the group also named Austin. The other 2 boys are named Connor and Ryan, and they are in percussion just like me. I feel relieved because I know they can help me learn the music since I am already so far behind. Austin is the one that talks to me the most, and the other 3 seem really shy just like me. At the end of the day, we have a pep rally for all the freshmen, and I sit with Austin. Again, we talk about games, phones, and other hobbies and interests we share. The next week, I sit with Austin and his friends at lunch, but I do not really talk to them. They seem a little strange, so I decide to go sit with Ryan, Connor, and the other Austin at another table. Austin ends up joining us the next day, so it ends up being us 5 for a month or so. I'm fairly quiet at first, but we talk a lot more and get along really well as the year progresses. We talk in band and sit together every day at lunch. Our group friendship strengthened a lot freshman year, and is still strong to this day. I also had Spanish with Ryan, and Austin and I had science and history together, so I sat with them in those classes. Austin and I play Xbox frequently to this day, and we all have bonfires every week after the football games on Friday. All my worries about not meeting people in high school vanished. I felt genuine happiness, and I was beginning to have high hopes for my new school. As freshman year in high school went along, this experience my first few days of freshman year caused me to have a much easier time making friends. I made a bunch of new friends freshman year that I'm still friends with to this day. I even managed to get my first girlfriend. I ended up working my way up from last chair in concert band to 4th chair out of 7 people. I went into sophomore year feeling much more confident than I did at the beginning of freshman year. I had friends in some of my classes, people to sit with at lunch, and confidence. I have come such a long way since that first day of freshman year. I have no problem talking to new people now. The me freshman year made friends, but was still very shy and had a hard time talking to people I did not know. People usually had to approach me People usually had to approach me for me to talk to them, unless I heard them talking about something I knew, such as video games like that day in band. I would talk to almost anyone today. As high school went along, I became so much more social and outgoing. I made friends with people in every class every year. I even improved a ton in band. I was the worst player in my section in band my freshman year, and this year I am one of the leaders. This year at football games during drum-offs against other schools, I get to play the solos. A few weeks ago, my band director came up to me and complimented me on how much I have improved and told me how impressed he is. The lesson I took out of this experience is to be more outgoing. When I go into college next year and am on my own again, I want to approach it with a positive attitude and make friends by being myself. I'm very confident for what lies ahead in my future.